I'm Danny Glover. Welcome to Courage. Tonight on Courage, the real-life story of Erin Brockovich. You might have heard of Erin Brockovich and her successful crusade to expose a giant polluter in a small California town. But there's some things you don't know, like the role model who fueled her passionate quest for the truth and how she risked her own life to pursue it.
If I can make a difference for one of these people, just one, whether it be prove a lawsuit, be their friend, get them through a bad time, then I've done what I was supposed to do on this earth.
Between 1992 and 1996, Erin Brockovich was the driving force behind the largest personal injury settlement of its kind in the world. 634 people, sick and dying from poisoned well water, were awarded $330 million.
Just call Joy Robertson and ask her if she took care of that.
Erin was a real hero, but what you might not know is that she had a secret weapon: her mother and father.
The people that were most supportive during that time were, in fact, my folks. They were always there to support me, no matter what I did.
She was insecure, I think, for many years, and she just constantly needed reinforcement with what she was doing, whether it was with the kids or with the job.
My dad always told me, when the going get tough,
the tough get going.
It was pretty effective.
Yeah.
Erin was born and raised in Lawrence, Kansas, the youngest of 4 children, including Frank Jr., Jody, and Tom, who died in 1992 from an asthma attack.
Ready for your coffee?
I'm ready.
Erin's mother, BJ, is a retired journalist, and her father is a retired industrial engineer working for a natural gas company.
My folks have been married 53 years. We weren't poor, we weren't rich, just a nice, comfortable, middle-class family. There was no leniency for lying. My dad didn't care what I did or how bad it was. If I lied, I was in that much more trouble. He is indignant about lying.
It's worse to lie and then get caught than it is to tell the truth in the first place.
As a carefree child, Erin grew up truly believing her father's words. Little did she know then how profoundly her father's words would later change the course of her life.
I wasn't the brightest kid on the block. I mean, I am not stupid, but I wasn't that academic, straight A kind of kid. I wanted to do other things.
She was more interested in having a good time and wasn't interested in the subjects she was taking.
I felt directionless for many years. I went to Kansas State University for a year. All I did was party. I went to Dallas, Texas, ended up going to a fashion merchandising school. I wasn't sure where I wanted to go or where I fit in, because I think inside I was actually really feeling very insecure, because my peers around me had established positions in life. So I thought maybe, if I was a model, or the pretty one in the group, the popular one in the group, that'd get me somewhere.
Erin entered a few beauty pageants in California, where she won the dubious title Miss Pacific Coast. She gave up on that world, and by 1992, Erin had 3 children from 2 failed marriages. Seeing this, her dad found a quotation from Calvin Coolidge that he thought would give her some direction.
I thought it was an interesting concept of life, and I had it made up, and I gave it to her.
And I have it in my office. It's persistence and determination alone can get you through life.
I thought it would be something, if she would read it and think about it, it would be helpful to her.
But as chance would have it, it was a car accident that led Erin to the job that has changed her life forever. Badly banged up in the mishap, Erin hired a small Los Angeles-based law firm to handle the case. She received only a meager settlement.
She was, of course, disappointed, and on the airplane back from Reno, she convinced my partner, Jimmy Vitito, that he should hire her to take care of all of his phone calls.
And the minute I got that job, I just grabbed a hold of it.
I think she finally made up her mind that she wanted to make something out of her life.
It wasn't easy. Nobody there liked me.
Our office was a small office. We had a normal business dress code, and Erin, she didn't quite fit into the form of the employee model.
There was apparently some old memorandum about 20 years old that said that a woman's skirt had to be so many inches above the knee. And one day, one of the office managers went in and with a ruler, and while she was sitting there, measured the skirt.
She really had to ignore all of that. That had to be overlooked and ignored, otherwise she never would have succeeded.
Erin had only been on the job for a couple of months when Edward Masry handed her that now infamous pro bono case file that set Erin's new life into motion.
Made me very curious. So I asked Ed if I could go through the file. Sure, kid. Sure, kid. It's always on the phone. Yeah, kid, whatever. Ed is notorious for saying that to me.
I went into this case kind of dragging my heels, and I was contemplating retiring.
In spite of Edward's lack of enthusiasm, Erin read the file and became troubled by the medical reports of a family from Hinckley, California.
So I asked Ed if I could go to Hinckley, and he said yes. So I drove out there, and that's when I met Roberta Walker.
Roberta Walker and her husband Greg had been involved in a real estate battle with Pacific Gas and Electric Company, who owns and operates a nearby compressor station. PG&E had been mysteriously buying up all the homes in the vicinity for double and triple their value. Roberta and her husband were the very last holdouts.
The price of our property that they were offering was 3 times, 4 times, even higher the amount of what the value was. And that got me a little suspicious.
PG&E had been giving out bottled spring water to everyone in the immediate vicinity of their plant.
They were in our kitchen, and I asked them what was wrong with our water, and they said, nothing is wrong with your water, you just have too much chromium in your water. Well, what is chromium? That's the good stuff. You need that to survive. But too much of a good stuff can be harmful. Okay, I believe that.
For many years, Roberta and her family thought the water was safe. They played in it. They bathed in it. They drank it. Then Erin discovered that, in fact, there's more than one type of chromium. Chromium-3, which is harmless, and chromium-6, a proven carcinogen.
She called me and she said, "What is chromium-6?" And I said, "Well, that's a chemical for rust inhibitor that they put in engines and compressors."
So Erin looked through the documents she found at the local water board, and sure enough, for many years, PG&E had been using chromium-6, and it had seeped into the groundwater.
They all complained of respiratory problems, sinus problems, headaches, nausea, breast cysts, tumors cropping up. And I kept thinking to myself, gosh, what is going on out here?
Even Roberta's family had their share of health problems.
I've had 4 stomach surgeries. I've had several breast surgeries. I've had a hysterectomy. My daughters have fibromyalgia. My husband does have skin cancer. He's had a tumor on his spine. And all of this is just never ending.
All the pieces just started coming together, snowballing, snowballing, snowballing. The more I looked, the more I found. The more I talked, the more I was told. And it just kept going and going and going and going. They never told the people it was hexavalent chromium. It became clear to me they were being lied to. Oh, and need I tell you how I feel about that? It really angered me. People were truly sick.
Erin's passion was so powerful and the evidence so compelling, she even convinced Edward to postpone his retirement. Eventually, he sacrificed everything for the case.
We went through a couple $1 million. We had to sell our condominium in Rancho Mirage, had to put a second on the house, had to borrow money from the banks.
I became very indignant because these people were really suffering and nobody was doing anything to help them.
Pacific Gas and Electric had hired an army of high-powered lawyers to defend themselves. But the small yet feisty Massery and Petito had something better. Erin Brockovich.
I was up at 6 a.m., gone. Home at 12:30, reading till 3. 6 a.m., gone. I'll definitely see you tomorrow. I'll be there at 6:30 though, don't worry.
There were many times when she could have gone home and cried herself to sleep and said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm wasted. She never did do that.
Hi, is Clancy in, please?
And because she continued to collect compelling evidence, she kept everyone believing in the effort.
She just wouldn't let me give up.
Yeah, hi, this is Erin returning her call.
She would be tremendously tenacious. She would bring in something she had found in the field, and boy, if I didn't drop everything, and like I'd have 100 fires going, and I had to drop that right now and work with her. How come I'm always following you?
That's just the way it goes.
Okay.
I honestly believe she risked her life in a lot of the situations that she got herself into.
We've been told our phones were tapped. I had to become careful about what I said and who I talked to. I had to start learning to look over my shoulder, which is something I wasn't used to doing at all. On a couple of occasions, I'd go through records and they'd close, or I could only have so many copies and I couldn't get a hold of somebody. And the next day, I'd go back and those records would be gone.
When the case was finally settled in 1996, Erin had helped hundreds of people get the money they needed to pay for their health problems.
It's hard to have when someone says, well, yeah, to try to be sympathetic with you, but no, you haven't lived it. You don't know. How do you know what we're feeling? And I truly believe that she almost felt what we were feeling.
She never hesitated. She was never concerned that she didn't have the ability. She was never scared of anything. She just has a lot of courage. In my opinion, Erin, she defines courage to me.
Even Erin's co-workers, who had been so critical of the way she dressed in the office, valued Erin's accomplishment.
The realization was Erin wasn't just a pretty girl with a pretty face getting a free job. The respect was Erin worked very hard for a long time and made an accomplishment that involved many people's lives, including her own, and the staff finally said, "You've done a good job."
Erin no longer had to feel inferior about not having a purpose in her life.
And I think for her to persevere through her own insecurity showed a lot of courage, just to be able to do what she did.
What Hinckley taught me, what the people of this lawsuit taught me, is exactly what my dad was telling me my entire life. The value of family and health. And they helped me reprioritize what was important, which is something I was taught all along. I just lost my way.